OpenAI's new image model sparks copyright backlash. VMware sues Siemens over alleged license breaches, and renewables made up 92.5% of global power capacity additions in 2024. Welcome to Hashtag Trending. I'm your host, Jim Love. OpenAI's latest image generation tool is drawing criticism after producing artwork in the style of Studio Ghibli, despite claiming to block copyrighted prompts. The image, created with a prompt referencing the Japanese animation studio, went viral, raising new questions about how generative AI interprets and replicates protected styles. The image was generated using OpenAI's newly upgraded image model, now available across all versions of ChatGPT, including free accounts. A user asked the tool to create a Inu in the style of Studio Ghibli, and the system returned a result that closely resembled Ghibli's signature visual style. Critics say that this undercuts OpenAI's claim that its tools refuse to generate copyrighted material or mimic protected artistic styles. If OpenAI's model wasn't trained on copyrighted Studio Ghibli material, how could it know what that means? Asked TechCrunch reporter Devin Koldewey, who first reported on the controversy. The case highlights a core legal and ethical tension. AI models claim to avoid copying, but their ability to reproduce distinct styles suggests otherwise. And this backlash lands just as OpenAI's executives, including CEO Sam Altman, are pressing governments to relax copyright rules on AI training. In recent comments to regulators and policymakers, Altman has warned that strict copyright enforcement could limit U.S. progress in AI development, potentially giving countries like China a strategic edge in the field. The case is part of a growing pattern. The New York Times and multiple artist groups have filed lawsuits alleging that AI developers used copyrighted content without permission in training their systems. U.S. and European lawmakers are now considering regulations that would require companies to disclose their training data sources and label AI-generated content more clearly. Now, to be fair, OpenAI is not the only image generator of this caliber. Gemini 2.5 has similar capabilities, and there are others. But OpenAI is seen as the icon, if not the leader in generative AI, and where they go, the U.S. industry goes. VMware has filed a lawsuit against Siemens, accusing the German conglomerate of using its software beyond the limits of their license agreements and refusing a contractual audit. The case, filed in U.S. District Court in Northern California, is the first major enforcement action since Broadcom acquired VMware in 2023. According to the complaint, Siemens failed to provide a complete list of its VMware product deployments and denied an audit request intended to verify license compliance. VMware further alleges that Siemens used its virtualization software beyond what was permitted under the contract and is seeking damages and an injunction to stop further unlicensed use. The legal action comes at a time when Broadcom, VMware's parent, is making sweeping changes to VMware's licensing model. The company has eliminated all perpetual licenses and shifted all customers to subscription-based pricing. Under the new terms, VMware now requires a minimum of 72 cores for a license pack, a standard critics say prices out smaller customers who are forced to buy licenses they cannot use and complicates compliance. The lawsuit signals a more aggressive posture from Broadcom, warning enterprise customers that strict license enforcement will be a priority going forward. And with many companies still adjusting to VMware's new licensing rules, more disputes could follow. And a good news story, at least in part, renewable energy accounted for a record 92.5% of all new power generation capacity added worldwide in 2024, according to the International Renewable Energy Agency, or IRENA. The data signals the strongest shift yet towards clean energy sources as companies accelerate the transition away from fossil fuels. Out of 510 gigawatts of new global power capacity added last year, 473 gigawatts came from renewable sources. That marks a 13.9% increase in renewable additions compared to 2023. Solar power led the surge, representing 73% of all new renewable capacity, roughly 345 gigawatts, followed by wind, which contributed around 113 gigawatts, or 24%. Asia remained the dominant force in global renewable growth, adding 326 gigawatts of new capacity, of which 297 gigawatts was renewable. Europe followed with 71 gigawatts in total additions, with 65 gigawatts renewable, and North America contributed a measly 34 gigawatts, but nearly all of it renewable. Total installed renewable capacity worldwide has now reached 3,870 gigawatts, accounting for 43% of the world's electricity generation capacity. While that represents a significant progress, fossil fuels still supply most of the electricity consumed globally due to the scale of existing infrastructure. And despite the progress, there are some challenges. Recent speeches from the U.S. president indicate that he is not in favor of renewables, and he has talked about a renewed focus on oil and what he's termed clean coal. As well, despite the progress made on renewables, and despite claims from the U.S. president, it's clear that China is the one that's taken the leadership role from the U.S., accounting for almost 64% of new capacity added. The downside is that the world needs to do much more and to reach 11,200 gigawatts of power capacity from renewables by 2030 in order to meet global climate goals. To reach that requires at least 16.6% annual growth versus the roughly 13% this year. We want to celebrate the progress, but we should also look at it in a different fashion. We talk a lot about superiority over the Chinese in terms of AI. Wouldn't it be nice if we could talk about beating them at renewable energy? Just a thought. That's our show for today. I'm your host, Jim Love. Have a fabulous Friday.